Well, it's been a little while since I've done any video work on this bike, and you can see I've been busy doing some prototyping work, working on some adjustable peg mounts, a lot of revisions. It's a little bit into the behind the scenes of R&D design work. You got to get everything just right. But I haven't ridden this bike in about a week and a half. I had a fairly severe crash on it, I would say, and it's not the bike's fault. I was riding somewhere that I normally ride, doing a hill climb, but the leaves had fallen and I got smacked in the face by a branch that I didn't see, and I wasn't wearing goggles, and I tensed up at the top of the hill climb where there's roots exposed, and I got on the throttle and I basically did a backflip about 15 foot up, and don't really know what happened, but it hurt. You can see the front fender is mostly gone. There's the back half of it's still there. This fork guard took a hit and it's kind of shattered. And the rear fender is broken. And I think most of that damage is primarily because it was cold out. It was about 36, 37 degrees when I crashed. And plastic gets brittle when it's cold. I've been through, the bike's been through some stuff when it's warm out and hasn't broken. So I think that's primarily the issue. I got a pinch flat on the rear at the same time. So it's flat. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and pull the rear wheel off and kind of do a how-to on installing a rim lock, because I don't have a rim lock on it yet. But I need to fix the tube anyway, so now's the perfect time. So I haven't removed the rear wheel yet. I've pulled the axle and I've got the chain just laying down here to the side. But I want to show you that this new shark fin design and caliper mount that I've come up with makes it a lot easier to remove the wheel, and I'll show you some specifics on that. So basically, you just pull it out, the spacers slide out, and then, this is going to be hard to do one-handed. This big fat tire makes it a little more tricky. But then you can pull this over just like that. And that's it. The wheel is out. And what I want to show you is, on this last ride, I went through some deep water. And by deep water, I mean like up to here. Several times. So these wheel bearings have been submerged over and over and over. This is the first time I've taken the bike apart since then. And we're just going to look at the seals that I make, or not the seals, the spacers that I make, and check to see if there's any water or contaminants in there. So you can see the outside of the seal is, if it'll focus, come on. The outside is dirty. But then where the seal actually rides is clean. And then the grease I use is this green waterproof grease. So it's not bad for being underwater many times. So we'll check the other side real quick. And another thing about these, this has a bigger surface area than stock. And where it rides, right there, you have more contact area. So when you tension the axle, it doesn't deform this like it does the stock one. And I pulled that out already earlier checking something, so it didn't fall out. It's not missing. So this one, you can see dirty on the outside, but clean on the inside. So that's what we want. So this is the factory rear brake mount. And if you see, there's a counterbore right here. And this is my spacer, but they work the same way. The spacer drops down in that counterbore. And to get the wheel out, it has to spread apart. It has to spread apart enough to come out of that counterbore. And that's kind of tricky to do because the swing arm doesn't allow that. So if you look at my brake mount, there's an actual slot and a ramp designed into it that will allow this just to slide in and out. And since there's that counterbore still, it supports the wheel so it doesn't just fall down when the axle's out. So this design works better than the factory one. Not that there's anything wrong with this. It's a fine piece. This is just more user-friendly. And you protect your rotor. These work with the factory spacers or my spacers. You can see my spacer has a step where it gets larger to get to the correct diameter. So you can see with my spacers, it's a nice snug fit in the seal. It's the diameter it's designed to be. This is the factory spacer. And that's pretty obvious. It doesn't do anything to protect your wheel bearings. It's a pretty big difference there. And here you can see the difference in the stock drive side spacer versus mine. You can see there's a lot more contact surface area here than stock. And you can see the stock one, how deformed it is already, because it only touches, there's only contact there and there. Also, the diameter being correct for the spacer, for the seals. Still don't know why they did it with these steps in there, but it doesn't work. And these are fairly cheap. It's like 50, 55 bucks a set of 4 from tmbdesign.com. You get both rears and both fronts because the fronts suffer the same issue. All right, so with the tire removed, the next step is you want to remove this rim spoke. I don't know what you call this, but it's a piece of rubber that just protects the tube from getting popped on your spoke nipples. So you'll pull that out. Next you want to find the valve stem hole. Right there. Okay, so there's a couple different ways you can do this. I think KTM's come from the factory with the valve stem hole and the rim lock hole 180 out. But some Yamahas come with them, I think 4 spokes away. So I talked to my friend Drew, who owns Rocket Power Sports here in Chattanooga, and he works on bikes all day, every day. And he suggests 4 spoke holes away. He says that is the easiest placement of the rim lock for easy tire changes, and I'm all about that. So I picked up this rim lock from him. It's a Motion Pro Light Lock. Nice and lightweight. Remember, weight is the enemy. So forgive me for doing this one-handed. I need to invest in some better way of trying to film while I'm working, because holding the iPhone in one hand and trying to work in the other hand is a little difficult. So what we're going to do is, once we get this off, we're going to measure this diameter, and we're going to drill a hole that's slightly bigger than this, so it'll pass through easily. Wow, it's a long thread. There we go. And what this does is it basically pinches the bead of the tire between the rim and the lock. And when your tire goes flat, it's still locked in place. Where if you don't have that, it can actually come all the way off, but it can slip and slide. And this will prevent you from ripping your valve stem in your tube. If you're running low pressures, the wheel will actually spin inside the tire and pop the tube that way. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, I'm just going to eyeball center. It doesn't have to be super precise. This is just an automatic center punch. Gives me a nice little dimple there to start my drill bit. Oh yeah, so we're doing it right where it's an article epard. Oops. It's that easy. I'm just going to clean up the edges of that hole a little bit with this tool, both sides. Just as a general health check, I always like to, loosely put the wheel back on and give it a good spin so I can check the run out. It's actually fairly straight still. It's got a little bit of a flat spot, but not too bad. I'm actually pretty impressed with these wheels. They are holding up better than expected. Now, the rotor's got quite a big bend in it, but it doesn't really seem to be an issue. The way this is hollowed out for weight makes it pretty easy to bend because there's no real structure to it. Makes it nice and light, but it makes it easy to bend. But the good thing about it, even if it is bent, it doesn't really fight the caliper much. Now it will wear the pads a little bit faster than normal when it's bent, but that shark fin there should take care of that. This is bent from before I made these shark fins, just to clarify that. Now when you order these rim locks, whether you order it online or you buy it at a store in person, you need to know the width of your wheel. And it's usually on the wheel. So that's 18, which is your diameter this way. 1.85 is your width. So just get a 1.85. Now, the diameter, I guess they don't really specify that because that radius from like a 16 to 18 isn't a huge difference. But just make sure you get the right width. And again, what I thought was a pinch flat is not. It is the tube getting ripped. So that is 2 for 2 and 160 miles of ruined tubes because you cannot fix this. If it's a pinch flat or a hole somewhere else, you can just put a patch on it, but that sucks. That's a brand new heavy duty tube. Well, it's junk now. We'll put a fresh one in there. And this should never happen again as long as you keep the rim lock tight. Now your other option, instead of a tube, is a mousse or a bib like this, which is literally just a chunk of foam that replaces your inner tube and replaces the air. Now, you can't really change the pressure of these. What a lot of people do is they just take a hole saw, inch and a quarter, and just drill a bunch of holes in it, which makes it basically lowers the air pressure, as it were, makes it softer, and then you can put holes radially too. I've run a few of these. They work really well, but if you run a lot of high-speed stuff, you can overheat them. Not really a problem on the e-bike stuff because they don't have the battery to do that. But on gas bikes, you don't want to ride with them on the road for that reason. They do require maintenance. They have to be lubricated really well. They're heavy, but they're not really any heavier than a heavy-duty tube. So I'm going to go back to a tube. But this is an option if you ride really hard enduro and you get a lot of pinch flats, you like to run super low pressure. This is a good thing you should look into for sure. With the rim lock loosely installed, you go ahead and put your rubber strip back on with the hole lined up, and you run the rubber strip over the rim lock. Then you go ahead and put your tire back on one side, put your tube in, and then put the tire in. And it's a little tricky with a rim lock, but it's not too bad. And when you spoon this tire on, it helps to start at the rim lock and work your way around and then finish at the rim lock. That way the bead doesn't have to go down in the drop center where the rim lock is. So that's a little tip. When I put a new tube in, I like to inflate it up to about 40 psi and then either remove the valve core or bleed it back down to 0. And that just kind of lets the tube settle in and get where it wants to. And the bead of the tire gets where it wants to be too. You go ahead and tighten your rim lock up. It doesn't need to be super tight, but you want it to be fairly tight for that clamping load. And then there's another place where people argue on the internet about that nut on your valve stem. Some people lightly put it up against the rim. Some people double nut it and leave it loose. Other people will put your valve cap on and then tighten the nut up against the valve cap. And the theory there is just to let the nipple move around where it needs to. And I agree with that, but I haven't really found much difference in where you put it. You don't want to crank it tight to there though, that's for sure. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and pull out these bolts that I had to cut down to make the right length and replace them with the ones that will be provided with the kit when you purchase it, or if you purchase it. And I'll just show you again, that kit spaces your sprocket out by that amount, which isn't much, but that's as much as you can do it with the stock swing arm. And that just moves your chain line out slightly to clear a bigger tire. And there is a spacer that goes on the front countershaft sprocket too, to keep your chain line ideal. But these are not the right, no, yeah. These are cut down bolts. These will be the ones that come with the kit. And the difference in the stock bolts and these is that's a flush head, and the other one's protruded a little bit and would hit the swing arm. Forgive my dirty hands, that is grease from the moose. And lastly, you can kind of see on the rotor there, anytime you do anything like this, some brake clean rag, you just wipe the rotor down, both sides, and that will keep any grease or contaminants or oil or whatever out of your brake pads and potentially ruining them. And then try not to touch that after you've cleaned it. And there you have it. It's as easy as that. If you can change a tire yourself and if you can drill a hole, you should be able to install a rim lock. And you'll quit ripping valve stems off. Oh yeah. Quick little detail about these peg mounts. 1.6 inch drop from stock. You can go slightly higher than stock too, but I don't know if anybody wants to do that. 19 different positions, so you can fine tune it. You do have some forward and rearward adjustment, not a ton, but a little bit. And the kickstand mount is removable for people like me that like to race, and the kickstand gets in the way. Not only is it removable, but you can actually adjust it up and down. So if you've altered the ride height of your bike with different tires, different wheel size, whatever, you have some adjustment, not a ton, but some, to where you can fine tune it to get it to lean right and not fall over. So cool little details. These are actually being machined here soon. I'll get some prototypes, I'll get some testing done on them, make sure everything is perfect with them, and then they'll be available to the public. So overall, I'm still very pleased with the bike. It's been through a lot of abuse. Currently at 160 miles on the clock and 13 hours. So still fairly new, still getting broken in. You know, plastics break, it happens. When it's warm, it's not bad. When it's cold, they're a little brittle, but it's not the worst thing in the world. I think it's around $100 worth of damage I did to the plastics when I crashed. But I'm still overall very happy with the bike. I still think it hits a real sweet spot of small bike with big wheels. Very capable, lightweight, fun, and durable. It's holding up great. Thanks for watching. Consider liking and subscribing for more.